Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh, and this is your stimulus check update for the next stimulus package for Sunday, December 13th. I hope everyone is off to a good and safe start to their Sunday so far. In this video, I'll be discussing updates in regards to the next relief package and the second stimulus check. I'll also be discussing unemployment, why we should be optimistic about stimulus payments in the next week ahead, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, give me a big thumbs up. It really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so the Senate will be returning back to Washington tomorrow around 3 p.m., where they hope to make a last-minute dash to pass the next relief package. We have a huge week ahead and what's set to be an extremely wacky week. I will say though, things are looking extremely good and I'm personally feeling very confident they'll get something passed. Why am I confident though? After several months of not getting anything done and bickering like children, maybe I'm just naive. However, I do feel like they're finally moving in the right direction. We finally have the two sides agreeable with the overall price tag, with Nancy Pelosi dropping her asking price by $1 trillion after the election. We finally have a framework deal to work off of with the bipartisan group's $900 billion proposal. Even though it's not perfect and they still need to work things out, that puts us pretty close. And finally, even though that proposal did not include stimulus payments in it, which was one thing that we didn't like about it, is looking more and more like they will eventually be included one way or another. This is because just a few days ago, Republican Senator Josh Hawley and Independent Bernie Sanders put the pressure on other lawmakers to pass a bill for direct assistance to American families. In this bill, there would be a one-time payment to adults earning up to $75,000 per year for $1,200, and each child would receive $500. Hawley said that if Congress was unable to work something out in the next couple of days, he would try to force a vote on a second round of stimulus checks very soon. Bernie Sanders also said this Congress must address the economic emergency facing the American people. We cannot go back to our families during the Christmas holidays while tens of millions of families are suffering. And he's absolutely right. To go home for Christmas break and leave millions of Americans suffering would be pure irresponsibility. Also, what are Sanders and Hawley planning on doing to force lawmakers to pass a second round of stimulus payments? Well, right now, they are saying that they will simply allow the government to shut down if they fail to approve a second round of stimulus payments. Now, we've heard similar words before from various policymakers, so we still need to see some action. But, in this case, I take both of their words very seriously. Josh Hawley said there is no reason that Congress should leave before they vote on and approve a direct assistance to working families. So here we have a Republican in Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders, a far-left Democrat, teaming up together to help the everyday American out. And even though they're polar opposites on the political spectrum, they're still working together for the common good. Good for them. Good for them. Also, another real possibility, if they don't pass stimulus checks in a standalone bill, is they may end up adding stimulus checks to the bipartisan proposal already being negotiated. Republican Senator John Thune noted that talks on liability are pretty much at a dead end, but there have been some discussions in the bipartisan group about getting rid of state and local and putting stimulus checks in there instead. So they'd basically be swapping out the $160 billion in state and local and adding in stimulus checks instead. Now, I will note that stimulus checks will end up costing around $300 billion, which is double the price tag of state and local, but it should still easily be doable. However, the catch here is that Nancy Pelosi and other Democrats would more than likely be unlikely to accept any deal without having any type of aid for state and local. So we could potentially have a very good deal in place here at some point next week with an extension of the unemployment benefits and stimulus checks, but it could be held up once again by Nancy Pelosi if she refuses to back down on her request for state and local aid. We'll see. Either way, it seems like they are going to be forced to agree on something if Hawley and Sanders hold on to their word. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at the government shutting down at the end of next week. Now, the baffling thing to me is, why is there even a question of whether or not we should send Americans another round of stimulus payments? As Josh Hawley puts it, American families should be first when it comes to getting relief, not last. The interest and needs of American families should be first on their to-do list, not last. So for members of Congress that say there isn't enough left for American families after all their other priorities, I say they're full of crap. We should always begin with American families when it comes to relief. And everything else, well, it can come after. This week ahead, I call on our lawmakers to do the right thing, which is passing a bill with stimulus payments and an extension of the unemployment benefits in it. We simply do not have much more time to lose. In unemployment news, we've heard nightmare stories like this one before, and here's another one like it. A 56-year-old immigrant from Jamaica, Olive Stewart, who worked part-time in a cafeteria at a school in Philadelphia, was laid off when the pandemic hit and school shut down. After Stewart applied for the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, she was approved and began receiving $234 per week. Months later, after using that money, in addition to her savings, to cover rent and other necessities, she received a notice saying that she was overpaid by accident. In total, apparently, she now had to pay back almost $8,000. Oh, and even though it wasn't actually her fault, she was given no forgiveness. In fact, in order to collect the debt, Pennsylvania began to withhold more than half of her unemployment benefits, which left her with only $105 per week to live on. Then, 1 month later in November, Pennsylvania began withholding her entire unemployment check, leaving her with no income at all. So even though it was the state's fault, Stewart was the one left punished by being forced to live on no income at all. Just another nightmare story to come out of all this unemployment mess, and absolutely no one deserves to go through all this stress and frustration. Oh, and being that the benefits from the PUA and PUC programs are set to expire in less than 2 weeks, we have to hope that Congress can get moving to extend those benefits. Otherwise, unfortunately, 14 million Americans will no longer be able to receive their benefits from those programs. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm going to move right along to answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you do have any other comments or questions for me, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to answer as many of the comments and questions as I possibly can, but for those comments and questions I'm not able to respond to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video, which is from Sherry. Sherry says, if a bill is passed for $1,200 stimulus checks, will adult dependents be left out again? Okay, thank you so much for your question, Sherry, and that is still completely up in the air. In negotiations between Nancy Pelosi and Steven Mnuchin back in October, they were going to make it so dependents even over the age of 17 would be included and would receive $500. However, in recent talks, since they're trying to reduce the spending in the next relief package, it looks like dependents over the age of 17 are once again going to be left out. This is extremely unfortunate because dependents over the age of 17 were left out from receiving anything in the CARES Act, and if they get it left out once again, they would be going all year long without receiving any type of relief. With that said, all this is subject to change, but I'll definitely make sure to keep you updated one way or another. Okay, moving right along to the next question of today's video, which is from George. George says, Josh, I still have not received my first stimulus check, and I would like to know if I can claim the $1,200 in my taxes for 2020. I think this video is very good. Okay, thank you so much for your question, George, and I'm incredibly sorry that you never ended up receiving your first stimulus payment. I know how frustrating that must be. But yes, you are exactly right. If you are eligible for the first stimulus payment, and you know for sure that you weren't claimed as dependent on anyone's tax returns, then you can still receive your money by claiming a $1,200 credit on your tax returns you file next year. And even though I'm sure you would have much rather received your money earlier this year, getting it next year is certainly much better than never receiving it at all. With that said, it might be worth checking the payment portal on the IRS website just to see if they have any updates in regards to your first stimulus payment. Okay, moving right along to the last question of today's video, which is from Cynthia. Cynthia says, will we get an additional $300 for unemployment? Okay, thank you so much for your question, Cynthia. And yes, it's looking like if they do pass another relief package with unemployment in it, they will be extended at around $300 per week. In fact, as we saw in the proposal by the bipartisan group in the Senate, they plan on extending the unemployment benefits at $300 per week through April of next year. And even though this would not be retroactive, it will still most definitely help out a lot of families. With that said, since they haven't officially passed anything yet, all of that is certainly subject to change, but I'll definitely make sure to keep you updated. Alright, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content of this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so and it's a great support to me. Also, if you'd like to receive 4 free stocks from Webull, with 2 of them valued all the way up to $1,600 each, please feel free to claim those free stocks by clicking the link in the description box below. And finally, if you join Rakuten with my referral link in the description box below, and you spend at least $20, Rakuten will give you $20 cash back. This means that you could buy an item through Rakuten with one of the referral links, such as Nike, for $20, which would be around $22 after tax, and Rakuten will give you $20 just for making that purchase. This is just an incredible deal that I would love for everyone to take advantage of. Okay, so until next time, I'll see you guys, and I hope you have a great day today.